welcome. I'm going to import a DXF file into the FastCam nesting software. So I've opened up the nesting software. I've set the size of the sheet on here. Let's just go a standard sheet, 1200 by 2.4. Click done. So that sets the size of the plate. There's a zillion other settings, but let's keep it simple. Let's go plus, and I have everything saved on my pen drive, so I can move it to my CNC easily. So if I pick something out of here and I'm going to do something with my logo on it so it looks cool. So it gives you, these are all saved in DXF. So what it's doing is it's bringing that DXF file into the nesting software. Shows you a picture here of what it looks like, what you're bringing in. So we select that. It'll then jump into the part data. So here you can select, so we want 3 of those. Priority, so it'll try and lay it out on the plate, being the most economical it can with the plate. So if you give that a priority of 1 and then you bring other parts in with a priority of say 9, then it'll nest these parts first in the most economical form. This is for manipulating it, so you can turn it, flick it, flip it, all the rest of it. I just always leave that on there, then it doesn't try to do anything too crazy to it. It will allow it to have a part flip. Move entries, you can do this now or you can do this on the output process, but this is where the lead-ins and lead-outs. So for example, if you look at this lead-in here, it's got a nice lead-in but there's no lead-out, so we'll just zoom in a wee bit by scrolling your mouse. Click on where you want to start and end, and you can change the shape of this by clicking on it with your right click, moving it with your right click, and then when you're happy with it, you left click, which turns it back to green. It takes a wee bit of that to get used to, and took me a long time to work that out. So the left click is the key. So right click, left click. So you go through all that, make sure the where you want to go in and out, start and finish. When you finish, left click it, click the tick, and it'll load it onto the plate. From there we can move it around, so say we want to cut it this way, you can move it over with the arrows, drop it down as low as it'll go, bring it over, you can rotate it, you can flip it Y and X axis by going to interactive. So say you want to flick it on the left, from left to right, so that's X, and just turned it over. So you can play with that. It will try and work out what's the most economical way, but if you're like me and you're pretty tight on how you use your plate, then I like to play with it myself and manipulate it around to get the best and most economical use. So that's loaded onto your plate, and then the next step is you go output. So generate output, you give it a file name, so we'll just call this cover. You can load all this up to save it for future use, but if you're saving it straight onto a pen drive, then I don't worry about any of that. Keep it simple. Here it will start to ask you questions if you want to manipulate the cutting line any further. So you can choose which one you want cut first, but if you're happy with the way it is, just click the mouse and it'll jump to plot nests. We don't need to do that. And move entry positions, that's going back to moving the stop and start entry points. We don't need to do that. And then it'll ask you where you want to save that to. So we save it onto the pen drive. Put back into here on my log splitter, and we'll just save it there, and it is saved. If you click yes on there, it'll show you what it's going to look like for cutting. And you see over the right here, all we've done is we've turned the DXF file into a TXT file, which is just numbers and letters. So it's telling the CNC where to go. It's just coding in the most basic form. If you open one of those in Microsoft, it opens it in Paint. That's how basic it is. So you've got your text code there. That's where it's going to cut. That's the way it's going to travel. That's all done. It's on your pen drive. Click out of there. So you take your pen drive out and now load that into the machine, which we'll do now. Okay, so we've saved our DXF file to TXT on the pen drive. We'll now load it into the machine. So we simply plug the pen drive into the control panel, select U disk, which will bring up all the files on that pen drive. You can see all my different items I have coded out. So I'll go down into the log splitter, my Mark II design. So I'm just scrolling with the keys and pressing F8 for OK or enter. I'll go with the one that I've got all the lead-ins and lead-outs done properly. So that's that one there, so I know that's the file I want. You can see at the end it's saying TXT file. It won't read any other kind. Oh, one other thing I forgot to say before is that when you save it to your pen drive, be sure to not use any full stops. For some reason it won't read full stops and it won't save the information. So you click on that, OK, and then up comes the picture of what you're going to cut, and it shows you the cutting lines there. Yellow is obviously when it's not cutting, and blue is when it's cutting. And then it's got all the setup procedure that you then go through to cut that efficiently.